chapter 7. When I would heal Israel, then is the iniquity of Ephraim uncovered, and the wickedness of Samaria, for they commit falsehood. And the thief entereth in, and the troop of robbers maketh a raid without. And let them not say to their heart, I remember all their wickedness. Now their own doings have beset them about. They are before my face. They make the king glad with their wickedness, and the princes with their lies. They are all adulterers, as an oven heated by the baker, who ceaseth to stir from the kneading of the dough, until it be leavened. On the day of our king the princes make him sick with the heat of wine. He stretcheth out his hand with the scorners. For they have made ready their heart like an oven, while they lie in wait. Their baker sleepeth all the night, in the morning it burneth as a flaming fire. They are all hot as an oven, and devour their judges. All their kings are fallen. There is none among them that calleth unto me. Ephraim, he mixeth himself with the peoples. Ephraim is become a cake not turned. Strangers have devoured his strength, and he knoweth it not. Yes, gray hairs are here and there upon him, and he knoweth it not. And the pride of Israel testifieth to his face. But they have not returned unto the Lord their God, nor sought him for all this. And Ephraim is become like a silly dove without understanding. They call unto Egypt, they go to Assyria. Even as they go, I will spread my net upon them. I will bring them down as the fowls of the heaven. I will chastise them, as their congregation has been made to hear. Woe unto them, for they have strayed from me. Destruction unto them, for they have transgressed against me. Shall I then redeem them, seeing they have spoken lies against me? And they have not cried unto me with their heart, though they wail upon their beds. They assemble themselves for corn and wine, they rebel against me. Though I have trained and strengthened their arms, yet do they devise evil against me. They return, but not upwards. They are become like a deceitful bow. Their princes shall fall by the sword, for the rage of their tongue. This shall be the derision in the land of Egypt. Okay, let's go back up to verse 1. Now, yesterday, chapter 6, we left off with a great harvest of Judah in the end. And the last verse of chapter 6 would read, Also, O Judah, there is a harvest appointed for you, when I would turn the captivity of my people. And this would be at the end when God, we're talking about the end time, which hasn't come yet, when God will turn the captivity of his people, because they have all been taken in captivity. We continue now. When I would heal Israel, then is verse 1, chapter 7. When I would heal Israel, then is the iniquity of Ephraim uncovered, and the wickedness of Samaria. For they commit falsehood, and the thief entereth in, and the troop of robbers maketh a raid without. And once again, we're talking about the end. When God would heal Israel, now when he does heal Israel, when this healing comes forth, we're going to find out, this is then is the iniquity of Ephraim uncovered, the sin of Ephraim, the sin of the double-fruited. And we're going to see this is how they got their double-fruited. We'll find that out in a minute. And the wickedness of Samaria, this place of the dregs, for they commit falsehood. And this falsehood is the teachings of lies, the teachings of that other than the law of God and the obedience to it. This is the everlasting covenant, and this is that which brings salvation. The obedience, both flesh and spirit now, that the two might be one. There might be one. If the two can't agree, they cannot walk together. The thief, he entereth in, and these are those that steal the truth. They come in, they're robbing, stealing that which belongs to God. And the troop of robbers makes the raid without. And these are all the people that are running around running their mouth. They've probably never even read the Bible. All they know is what somebody's told them. Hearsay. It's hearsay, and it won't be admissible in court. See, won't be admissible in court. Why? Well, we got evidence. We got proof, positive. See, we're going to call heaven and earth, Song of Moses. We're going to use everything we got against you in the end time. And we're going to see that the judge has already made his ruling, because we've got the example here and we're reading about it. And this is exactly what we're talking about. This is exactly the end of all things. We're going to find this out in the volume. And let them not say to their heart, verse 2, I remember all their wickedness. Now their own doings have beset them about. They are before my face. But nobody can see these. Well, God can see it. I mean, you might choose to ignore it, but God is not choosing to ignore it. See, he's making an example. He's making an example. And this is the way it is. Let them not say in their heart. You can't say to yourself that God is doing this to you. God has remembered all your wickedness. No. See, you have raised it up. See, you wanted to do this. God told you now, don't do this, but because you wanted to. Now, God has allowed you, and he has actually even helped you. 3, they make the king glad with their wickedness, and the princes with their lies. Why? They prosper from it. See, they prosper. This king, this Melech, this one who they made over themselves to rule them, other than God and the law of God, they chose to make them a king. They said, give us a king. Here's your king. Now you see what's happened. Wickedness and lies. 4, they are all adulterers, as an oven heated by the baker, who ceaseth to stir from the kneading of the dough until it be leavened. So he's heated up the oven, and he's gone to sit down somewhere. He's waiting on the dough to rise. See? Meanwhile, the oven's heating up. 5, on the day of our king, the princes make him sick with the heat of wine. He stretches out his hands with scorners. We could have swapped a few verses around here and got a little more understanding out of this by moving 5 up here to 4 and 4 down to 5. But it's this way. So they've made the king sick with the heat of this wine. The heat of this wine means the warmness that the wine gives you. And on a summer day, sometimes this can be a little bit overwhelming. Those that drank wine might know the effects of wine. He stretches out his hands with scorners, and that basically he is just ruling over a bunch of people. These scorners here is in direct reference to those who believe in idolatry, those that are scorning God, those who are making a mockery. Why? Well, they've made an idol. They've raised up an idol, see, now, and even this king has become their idol. And he stretches out his hands with scorners. These scorners are simply that, these idolaters, and he rules over these. And when you rule over idolaters and those that don't obey the law of God, you're not ruling over anything but a kingdom that's going to be cut off. 6, for they have made ready their heart like an oven, while they lie in wait. Their baker sleepeth all night, and in the morning it burns as a flaming fire. So their heart now, this is their inner man. They've made it ready like an oven. It's burning while they lay there and wait. And this lay in wait, now they're waiting for their brother. They're waiting for someone that they can take in their little snare. Their baker is asleep all of the night, and through the night they do these things. And in the morning it burns as a flaming fire. And that's what the baker's going to await to, this fire, this great fire, because that which he was baking is going to be burned. They are all hot as an oven, and devour their judges. All their kings are fallen. There is none among them that calleth unto me. And God is doing this. God has brought wrath upon you. Why? There is none that calleth unto me, saith the Lord. And this is the reason why you fell away from God's grace. You've went and disobeyed the law of God. You thought you could make it of none effect. God's making an example out of you now. He said he was going to make an example out of you. He's made an example out of you. Turn and return to God. We're going to find out, though. They do return, but it's not upwards. Ephraim 8, he has mixed himself with the peoples. Ephraim has become a cake not turned. And this cake not turned, it burns. It burns and it becomes, it's just not acceptable. It's not edible. It's no good. You have to throw it away. Why? He mixed himself with the peoples. This is how he became the double-fruited. He mixed himself with idolatry. The fruitful, those, the double-fruited. He has mixed himself with the idolatry. He has mixed himself with the people. 9, strangers have devoured his strength, and he knoweth it not. Yes, gray hairs are here and there upon him, and he knoweth it not. He can't consider these things. Well, God's taken his understanding away. See, when you turn from God and you turn from the law, you lose your understanding. And this is what happened to Ephraim. Those that think they're fruitful, but they are bearing a double fruit. Gray hairs are upon him there and there. That means you're getting to the end of your days. See, gray hairs, this means you're coming to the end of your days. The strangers have devoured his strength. Why? Well, they've come in with all their ratchet jaws and all their teachings and everything else. See? And this is what happens, and the king suffers the people to sin. 10. And the pride of Israel testified to his face, but they have not returned unto the Lord their God, nor sought him for all this. And God has brought it up right up in your face. It's right there in front of you. And still you won't turn to God. Still. And God has told many of you it's wrong. Some have turned. Some have listened. Some have understood. Many will. 11. And Ephraim has become like a silly dove, without understanding. They call unto Egypt. They go to Assyria. So that's what Ephraim has become. Just like that. These that of this double-fruited, they become a silly dove. They, without understanding, can't find their way back home. Don't know which way they came. They're lost. They call unto Egypt, this place of holes, this place of enclosures, this land of enclosures. That's where you're at still today. We're going to find out more about this prison that nobody's been let out of. The one who didn't let his prisoners go. They go to Assyria. Assyria is this. It's this altar they made for themselves. This Asher, this step up, this step forward. It's an altar there, and they stand on it, behind their little chariot. 12, even as they go, I will spread my net upon them. I will bring them down as the fowls of heaven. I will chastise them as their congregation has been made to hear. God's telling you. He's already told many of you what's going to happen. Didn't he tell you that he, from the beginning, declared these things? That you might know the end of it. 13, woe unto them, for they have strayed from me. Destruction unto them, for they have transgressed against me. Shall I then redeem them, seeing they have spoken lies against me? Shall I heal them? Shall they be forgiven? Seeing they have imputed unto their king that things of God. 14. They have not cried unto me with their heart, though they wail upon their beds. They assemble themselves for corn and wine. They rebel against me. They have not called out unto God in understanding. Look, you call out to God. You got an image in your mind. You have no understanding of who God is. You can't conceive. You can't understand. It's taken away from you. You're blinded, made. You've been stupefied. Though they cry upon their beds, this place they've made for themselves to lie. It's what the bed is. Your bed in life is that what you've made for yourself. The result of your actions in life, see, becomes the consequence of it. And that's what we see in the whole as we go. See, we have to be taught from our youth to obey, to understand the law of God, so that the outcome of our life in the whole is good. See, but if we're not taught these things, it's willy-nilly. You may make it, you may not. You go forth without understanding. You're like the blind, groping against the wall. They assemble themselves for corn and wine. Corn, this harvest, this wine. Well, the wine, they're making them drunk. And they rebel against me. 15, though I have trained and strengthened their arms, yet do they devise evil against me. I have done this. God says, I have done this. I have strengthened them. I have prospered them. And without understanding, they devise evil against me. Evil. They raise up this idol. God's been making an example of this since the beginning. Since we started out, they couldn't get out of past the first commandment. And if they did, if they got to the second one, they'd trip over it. They returned, but not upwards. 16. They return, but not upwards. They don't return. They're going around in circles. They become like a deceitful bow. That's a bow that doesn't have no strength. It's like acquiring a bow, and you think you've got you a good bow, and you go to shoot it. It just don't have the power that you thought it should have. The apprentice shall fall by the sword. And we know this sword is the word of God. This is the word in the end. This double-edged sword, this law of God, cuts both ways. It cuts the flesh and the spirit at once. Witness now. For the rage of their tongue. And that's it, right there. The rage of their tongue. They brought this upon themselves with their mouth, making all these pillows and these sweet cakes, deceiving all the multitudes. It's all going to be brought to naught, though. God's using it. He's going to make an example out of it so that we can have understanding and know there is a God in heaven. There is a God. This shall be their derision in the land of Egypt. This will be their mockery. This is what they'll be doing. This in the land of Egypt. This is what they'll be doing. Making a mockery. Making a mockery of God. Imputing things. It's imputing. They are saying this is God and this is not God. See, that's what Jeroboam did. Remember? There is your gods, Israel, that brought you up out of the land of Egypt. These are no gods at all. And here we'll see now, they're left in their derision in the land of Egypt, this land of enclosures. Let's move on. Chapter 8.